And I think that's why there's so much of an appeal towards those younger execs and younger families to have something like this for themselves, because it's attainable luxury. So I've already driven an Audi Q5. I did a full review on one almost a year ago. That video will be linked down in the description box below, and you guys can check it out if you want my full thoughts and a full review of the Q5. But it's been about a year since then, and while I found this new facelifted Q5 to be a pretty decent value and a rather nice, small luxury SUV, I wanted to tackle the new obstacles that face the Q5 in this crazy car market with shortages and increased used car prices. So the question we're going to really address today is, should you buy a used Audi Q5? I do want to point out one more thing, which is that I'm going to avoid any talks of the first gen Q5. I think at this point that's a no buy for me. I don't think you're really fooling anyone besides yourself for buying one of those right now, and I think your money could be much better spent on something more reliable and something actually with more features than a first gen Q5 of any sort. Again, at this point, that's not something I'm going to get into, but we will discuss, the second gen Q5, both pre and post facelift. Again, here we're sitting in a 21 model year facelift with just a hair under 9,000 miles on it, and let's just jump straight into the video. So with the Q5, as with almost any other Audi, the proof is in the pudding. People love these cars because they're well engineered, with a good fit and finish and a pretty stylish design language that just leaves a lot of young families and young executives wanting to purchase the likes of Q5s, A4s, A3s, and the sort, right? Very, very well respected vehicles out here, especially I'm out here in Southern California, but I would say in any major metropolitan city, this is definitely a very cool car to have, a cool SUV to have, crossover to have. And just to jog the memories of those of you who don't want to go watch that full review, it's still a lovely place to spend some time. This is actually a bit more loaded than that vehicle I drove about a year ago. So this has the Premium Plus pack. That was a premium package. So this has a sunroof, I believe the virtual cockpit, this does have the virtual cockpit. I believe the other one did not. The new infotainment is very nice. This one has the full navigation system. You have the full safety suite. Everything is either actual leather or leatherette covered, such as these center armrests and door cards. Everything is rather nice in here. The only thing I wish is you could have a black headliner with the black interior, which I think requires either getting the S-Line trim or getting brown interior. Nonetheless, the point is, this is a pretty nice vehicle. That was a little Larry David for you guys. The only thing this is really missing is that Bang & Olufsen sound system. Otherwise, I'm pretty content with what you get, and the driving experience is also pretty nice. The only other thing that's changed is about a year ago when I drove this exact car practically, I was daily driving a sedan and this felt like an SUV, and now I'm daily driving a Jeep Wrangler, so this almost feels like a hatchback to me. That's the only thing I've noticed perspective-wise. Moving on to the question and the reason you clicked this video, most likely you're considering purchasing a used Audi Q5, and I want to lay down a couple of basic things. Right now, this is a 2021 model, as I mentioned. The 22s are fairly similar. The only thing that's really changed is that you can get the S-Line package standard with a 45 TFSI, which is what this model is. So it would have a slightly improved exterior design, but that's just basically a front bumper cover and rear diffuser and I think wheel option. Otherwise, it's an attractive vehicle, but with about this mileage, so about 9,000 miles, and being a 21 model, 45 TFSI Premium Plus, you're looking at a cool $50,000-ish on the used market right now, and this car is priced as new. So this actually is $49,000 and change new, again selling for around $50,000 used. I am not really a fan of that, and I think that's a pretty big red flag for me when it comes to almost any car aside from exceptionally high demand or super highly coveted vehicles. So sure, a Mercedes G63, it's going for $100,000 over sticker, same for a Porsche GT3, but those are just the upper echelon of attainable vehicles, while the Q5 certainly is not. So I think that's an amazing piece of knowledge, or I guess an amazing reality for someone who maybe bought a Q5 a year ago or prior. You bought one of these when I made this video last year, and you're looking at the market going, I could get out of it after 12 months for basically no money lost. That's lovely. Although replacement cost becomes an issue on that front. But if you're looking to get into one now, especially buying one used, I just can't really recommend spending full MSRP for a car with 10,000 miles and 1 year of its warranty gone, knowing good and well that if and when things do kind of come back down to reality, you're going to be out of a lot of money because the value on these is going to plummet as the availability of brand new ones increases or resumes back to normal. So that's my opinion on that basic front. I do think this is a pleasant vehicle to spend time in for sure. Like I said in the beginning, I'm just not sure it's worth $50,000 out of your pocket used. The reality is that about 18 or so months ago, you could have picked one of these up with dealer discounts and other incentives for about $40,000. So just knowing that, again, it really bodes well for someone who did in fact pick one up 12, 18 months ago, 2 years ago. But if you're looking at the market now, you have to recognize that you're probably going to end up losing more money than you ought to by buying a used Q5. If you really must have a Q5, you're better off either trying to find a new one at sticker or maybe even leasing one, which I probably still don't think is a great idea. If you could hold off to the end of this year, that's really your best bet. Things should be a bit better. But I will say the Q5 is still a tremendous value for its segment. It's just that I don't think I would want to personally part with $50,000 for a used one right now. My opinions haven't really changed on the car itself. It is a nice vehicle to spend time in. I've said that now twice, I think, maybe 3 times. I do prefer the Premium Plus trim here, and I kind of alluded to this in my original video, which is that I don't want a super highly spec'd Q5. You know, for instance, the 55 TFSI, which is the plug-in hybrid, seems really appealing. It has quite a bit more power than this, and the prospect of a plug-in hybrid, which is something I currently drive myself, is something nice. But I don't know if spending around $60,000 for a non-S Q5 would be something I would also want to do, because around that low to mid $40,000 range, even creeping up towards 50, which this car new was, that's understandable, I guess, for me. $40,000 to $50,000 being the price of a Q5 in today's world. Being $60,000, again, it's just not the price point I'd be comfortable with spending, even new, on a Q5, unless I were to get a sensational lease deal on one of those plug-in hybrids, which I believe existed prior to the pandemic or prior to this vehicle shortage. I will say, in conclusion, that the power is adequate, but definitely not breathtaking. And even the 55 TFSI, that plug-in hybrid, wouldn't be the route I would take if I wanted a sporty Q5. You just got to go for the SQ5. I have done a video on a pre-facelift SQ5, which is the same engine, transmission, basically the same drivetrain as the current one. So I can link that in the description box below if you're interested in something sportier. And potentially, if I really wanted to spend around $45,000 to $50,000 on a used Q5, I would end up just grabbing a pre-facelifted SQ5. And at least you're getting a bit more value for that money at that price, and something that originally was a bit more expensive than around 45, 50K. So that is where I'll leave you guys. I guess if I had to buy a used Audi Q5 that was newer, I would go ahead and grab an SQ5 pre-facelift. So that's like a 2017 through 19 or 20, 2017 through 2020, I believe. But that's just kind of my all-encompassing thoughts. I don't want to regurgitate too many of my thoughts from my last video or from this video, because that content exists and you can go out there and watch it and see my fresh live thoughts at the time. But I will say that this is an appealing looking vehicle from the exterior. It has a solid amount of features and amenities, definitely enough so to keep it feeling fresh and relevant here in 2022. But it's just not a vehicle that I would spend this kind of money on in the used market, not right now at least. And I would say hold off, wait it out a bit, and things should be better here in the next 9 to 12 months. Not saying perfect, but better than they are now, because things are already getting a bit better. And without further ado, all that I'll ask is that if you guys enjoyed this video, that you consider subscribing. New videos dropping every single week on Fridays, so comment down below. Let me know what you guys want to see. I'll do my best to make it happen. And as always, this is Rio. Peace out.